Welcome to Busy Mom Talk, real talk for real moms. I'm your host, Kia, mom of two. So if you're juggling kids, coffee, and chaos, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of Busy Mom Talk. Today we have Jae with us. It's super exciting because she is local to Ottawa, so in my area, and she wears many hats. So would you like to kind of give us a little rundown of who you are, make our listeners fall in love?
My name is Jae. I am a mom of four. I was in the military for 17 years, and I'm also a birth and postpartum doula. And I live with PTSD. So that's who I am. And yeah, I guess a homeschooling mom of four, which is pretty busy on its own.
Yeah, I kind of imagine. Honestly, when you told me that, I was just like, kudos to you because homeschooling in itself is so hard. And then having four kids and everything else that you're going through, it's definitely probably like a juggling act, right?
Oh yeah, it honestly feels like a full-time job.
Well, yeah, it technically is when you think about it, because you usually put your kid into school with a teacher, and now you're the teacher.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like there's no break in between with like either being on a bus or walking home, having like that transition. So yeah, it's been challenging. Just starting it up this year. And we've been looking at possibly doing like a partial homeschool and regular school, but that's going to be a whole other thing. But I mean, it also gives me that time as well to focus on my things, which is nice. So we're trying to navigate what's best for the entire family.
Yeah, I think that's what's always super challenging is looking at everybody's needs, because I'm sure you look at your needs as the last to be
Yeah,
a priority, right? And you always want what's best for you, but then there's also probably like this little person sitting on your shoulder of you can't pour from an empty cup. And
exactly.
and I think that this is something that we've actually talked about of have like the challenging of like, okay, what is the best route to deal with all of these things going on when you want to just prioritize your kids?
Exactly. Yeah, and it's hard. And I've always been very big on like a healthy mom makes healthy babies. But even that saying of it takes a village to raise a kid, I really feel like it takes a village to raise a mother, especially in this day and age where we're in like this go, go, go culture. And it's like you're expected to give birth and then be able to be back to normal within 6 weeks. And it's like, no, the postpartum period really lasts like it can last years for so
Yeah.
many. So trying to really, I mean, in the last little while, I've actually relied on my village quite a bit. And it felt very strange asking for help. And when I did it and when I came back, it just like I felt so much better. Like in a way that like it was almost like I felt like this like glow inside of like, okay, like I don't have all of this weight on my shoulders anymore, you know?
And I don't know if you can say the same thing, but I feel like you're somebody who gives amazing advice and has so much to offer, but it's probably hard to take your own advice and what you would
Exactly.
like, even like I'm sure your clients and the people that you help being a doula, you probably tell them all of these things. And like at the end of the day, you should be also taking that advice.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think this year has been a very big year of just change. And I actually have started to take my own advice that I've been telling, yeah, clients, friends, and, everybody.
Yeah, so what made you get into becoming a doula? Because I know that you reached out earlier when I did the other show, and once I went on my own, you were definitely somebody on like the top of my priority list because I started learning more and more about you, and you're just like one of those, I'm sure you've heard this before, you're like a book that keeps getting better of all the things that you
Oh,
do. And I know that you are in a pageant. So
yeah.
I'd like to kind of learn about all those aspects because I don't even know anything about like Miss Canada, Miss Universe, all of those things. Like, how did you get into these things?
So first, like, yeah, I'll let you know about how I wanted to become a doula because I had a very traumatic first birth with our first son, and I was in labor for about 36 hours, had no idea what to expect. The doula that I wanted to hire, she was unavailable because her daughter was giving birth around the same time in Australia. So she was like kind of torn between the two of us, and I was just like, no, like you're gonna like this is your also like your first grandbaby. And so anyway, so she went and she tried to give us as much advice that we possibly could, and it was just my husband and I. So anyways, going in, giving birth, like I had the epidural. I, I mean, just your typical first time. I want to say like first time giving birth, but also not having any support. So it's just a lot of like, I don't know what's going on. But anyways, he was born with a heart condition that we didn't know about. I had a postpartum hemorrhage, all that kind of stuff in there. And that was when I realized like how much different I think my experience would have been if I had a doula there. And so that was when I was like, okay, after my second and probably third and fourth, which did happen, I'm like, I'm gonna go do my training and get all of this done because I never want another birth or another mother to birth alone. So that's what got me into that. And then with the pageants as well. My very first pageant was back in 2008. I had I won the Miss All Canadian pageant, and then took a break. That was also the year I joined the military, and then I did another pageant a couple years ago, and then after that, I was like, you know what? I want to get back into this because it's almost like I'm reclaiming my story again. And also having identified as a mother for I mean, like about 10 years now, that I felt like I kind of lost a bit of who Jay was. And so training for the pageants now, and my next pageant is in June of next year in Palm Springs. And yeah, like just all the training going through that, and then being diagnosed with PTSD, navigating, transitioning from being in the military for more than half my life to just a civilian now. And it's been like emotionally challenging, physically challenging too, because I mean, walking in heels, it's hard, especially after giving birth too, like it's tough trying to work with what your body is like now after birth. So yeah, anyway, so all of that. And it's really changed me for the better. It's made me really focus on my advocacy work, where mothers are extremely important to me. Like even just I would say like that started after becoming a mom.
Yeah.
And then also with women veterans as well, because we're looked at differently than our counterparts. So there's a lot of barriers I'm breaking through. Yeah.
I definitely think that a lot of people who hear your story, it's not just like an inspiring story because it totally is, but it's one of those stories that people hear and it's like a life-changing thing that people feel, or they get like this motivation or passion that kind of sparks in them.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think that a lot of times people have things that happen to them, and it's so hard to come out of it, and it's so hard to not let it define who you are, even though it is such a huge piece of you. And I think, like, amazing to watch somebody be able to go through all that hardship and still, even though you're not necessarily at the top of the mountain, which I'm sure that in life there's just so many mountains you're going to climb,
Yeah.
but you're there for other moms to kind of speak with and talk to, and it's amazing to see.
Thank you.
And
Like
like,
I love, yeah,
sorry,
no,
go on.
no, it's okay. No, I absolutely love what you've said, because yeah, like for a long time I never really I feel like motherhood humbled me a lot. And I feel like even growing up with like the humbleness and the kindness, like it was just it almost just kind of kept going in a way that I never knew how you could be um like I feel like my path itself, like I thought it would just be like a very straight linear, like I knew what I was gonna do. This is who I am. And it's like really showed me no, there's like all these like twists and winds and turns and up and down these like crazy hills or mountains. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting.
I find too, like once you become a mother, it's your whole personality, and it's so hard for it not to be.
Yeah.
And I think it's healthy for it not to be your whole personality, but it's hard, like especially when, you try to be the best mom you can be, and you feel internally like you're battling these internal battles, and like I'm so glad that you have that village, but it's also hard to get that
Yeah.
village. It's
Oh
it's a
yeah.
process.
It took like about 3 years, I'd say, to establish a good village for sure.
Do you find that it's like kind of changed from when you first had your first child to now?
Yeah, I feel, and also it's funny too, because as soon as after having our first, I was just like, yeah, we can definitely do like a second, third, fourth. Like whatever. We always wanted a big family, but um, I felt like um, I knew what I was doing like perfectly from after having our first, and then realizing, oh no, like each of these kids are completely different. I thought I had like, I would say like, yeah, great start to parenting, but it was more of like, yeah, okay, this kid's going to be exactly like his brother and everything. And I was just like, nope, completely always just changing and learning. Huge, like knowing how different all four kids are. And even the
Yeah.
twins, it's like they're just siblings. They're not twins, like there's certain aspects to them because they're both girls, but they're just like so different and look so different and their personalities and everything. So yeah, I feel like I'm always learning
I
throughout my
def
parenthood.
I definitely don't think I could handle twins. And I know so many people are like, well, once you have twins, like you just kind of adapt to it. But I genuinely always like just applaud anyone who has twins because like that postpartum period when you have just one child, even being pregnant, like I
Yes.
could not imagine it. I don't ever think that I could truly get out on the other side. And like there's like an influencer who kind of says like every time you meet a twin mom, they're always just like you okay? Like you hanging on, Like there's just like this unspoken rule that twin moms and twin dads kind of have with each other.
Oh, maybe. I mean, yeah, I feel like I want to say definitely more like in tune with how other people were feeling and how overwhelmed they could be even with one child, and that can be a lot. Like I've heard so many moms like, yeah, say like, how do you do it with four? Like I can barely do it with one. And I'm like, don't compare mine to yours. I'm like, because it's different for everybody, right? Like each parents differently. Each mother goes through motherhood differently than the other, and each child is completely different.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, like, yeah, please don't ever compare. But I feel you, So yeah, I just feel like I'm always the one checking in on other moms. And I'm always like, hey, like, how's it going? And, like, how about we go out for a walk? How about we go do this? And yeah, just I feel like I've definitely learned more empathy as well in that sense. And yeah, and having four kids who all have different learning styles. And I'm sure, yeah, and they're like neurodivergent as well. So yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I definitely could imagine like just balancing everything. It's so hard. And like, I'm sure that I kind of feel like we're kind of similar on this aspect that like you almost wouldn't know what to do with your life or yourself if you didn't have all of these things on
Yeah.
your plate. And some people do say that it's like a coping skill that, or not even necessarily a skill, but it's just a coping strategy or a way for people to like deal with PTSD, stress.
Yeah.
And like even moms, like they really, really need to be so busy because that second they have nobody needing them, they don't know what to do.
Yep, 100%. And yeah, and that's exactly yeah, that is totally me. But yeah, I find like I can't not be busy. So yesterday I had a photo shoot and I was sitting in the chair with this new hairstylist and we were talking and chatting for quite some time. And then after I was just like, oh, I have emails that I have to get back to and messages that I haven't responded to. So I told her, I'm like, hey, like just 1 second. I'm like, because I've always been like driving for the last little while, or yeah, parenting, teaching, cooking and everything, because my husband just had surgery. And so, anyways, I was like, I don't mean to be rude. I'm like, but I need to get back to this. And then so anyway, so I was like texting and like messaging back, emailing. And then I put my phone down for a second. And then she was like, are you okay? And I was just like, yeah, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm like, I just want a bit of like quiet for just a little bit, I'm like, I felt that I have been very busy. And sometimes I just need those moments of just like silence. But it's not, I feel like if it was more than 5 minutes, I would just go down this other rabbit hole. So I was like, nope, okay, I'm going to do it for just a minute. And it actually felt really good. Like
I'm
I actually was
glad.
able
I'm
to
glad.
pause. Yeah. So yeah, I totally find that we tend to be very busy and keep our minds busy to
Yeah.
avoid, you know,
Well,
yeah.
I imagine too, like, I think we were kind of talking about this. Like, I definitely was one of those people who would have loved to homeschool, but mentally, it is just so taxing to have zero childcare And I don't necessarily have like the biggest village where I am. We have no family nearby. So
Mhm.
it's hard to be like, okay, I'm going to prioritize my mental health now and not be there with your kids, or like it's hard to like carve out time. And like when you think about it though, I think I've said this before, like we put our kids in extracurriculars, and
Yeah.
it's like us as parents, we don't do that. We don't think, okay, well, you haven't been outside today, so we need to go outside and get a walk in, or you've been on, you've been watching a movie all day, we should go outside, get some fresh air, you got to eat healthy. We kind of just stop thinking about these things for ourselves, like we stop
Yeah.
parenting ourselves, because like I feel like society has conditioned mothers to just be like, just live. As long as your kids are healthy and doing well, you're gonna be fine. But it shouldn't be that
Yeah.
way.
No, and I feel like moms need to reclaim their identity too. Because yeah, you're
Yes.
definitely you were going to be a mother from that moment forever, you know? And it's just when you have that, it's also you also have to remember who you are and the things that you enjoy doing, which can totally be, yes, playing soccer with your kids, for example. But it can also be like mom just wants to go get a spa day for a little bit, to unwind and relax. But maybe I want to go, I don't know, horseback riding. Maybe that's something that you used to do before. So, and then eventually maybe your kids would be interested in doing the same things.
Yeah, and I think it's
So,
amazing for parents to actually do those things, then the kids learn it too. Because like
yeah,
I believe your parents immigrated here, correct?
they did. Yeah.
Okay, so my grandparents both were immigrants here too, and like they kind of come from the idea that like you put your whole life into raising your kids.
Yeah.
And, my parents kind of followed that same idea, you could say. So my parents' activities were literally doing stuff with us. And, I'm
Yeah.
sure you could say the same thing, right? Like you don't really see your kids like my mom, if she came home and I was a kid saying, I'm going to go to piano lessons, I would have been like, what are you doing? What do you mean? Because we weren't raised that
Yeah.
way, right?
It's true. No, you're so right. I know because it's funny because my parents they met at a disco and that's how they met and got married and everything. And then they were also playing badminton too. And my parents like they would play together. So when they had immigrated from Malaysia to Canada, they continued to play badminton and my sister was like 5 at the time. And so anyways, they would continue to go and everything. And then my mom got pregnant and had me. And then it was like everything just stopped.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, like, I mean, we would still go to like dances and everything and take me and my sister. But yeah, she's like, yeah, we just, everything was just focused on you guys. And they were working long, like 8 to 9 hour jobs. My dad would work overtime sometimes too. And I was always at like a babysitter's and then waiting. And my parents would come pick me up. We'd have dinner and then go to like an extracurricular for me. And that was it. So yeah, I feel like my parents for sure, like, um, was raised to be like, yes, everything just focuses on the kids and that's it.
Yeah. And it's funny too because like I always say like my parents were great parents, but I also am the way I am as a parent by the things they did that I didn't agree with, or like the
Yeah.
times have changed, and like God bless my parents, I love them, but like if
Hmm.
I could go back as a child, like what I know now, I would have been like forcing them to go do things other
Yeah,
than just be
exactly.
parents.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I know. Yeah, like I love the way my parents raised me. But yeah, I do wish that they got to go do their own things, which I think they started to once I was in university, where they had a bit more of that freer time, right? So they started to, and I feel like now my parents are retired and trying to get them to come see us or like us to go visit them, they're always way busier than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So um with being in pageants and stuff, how does that look with being a mom? Because I could imagine it's a lot of work and it's probably like very, I would say, overwhelming maybe.
Um, I would say it can be overwhelming sometimes if I end up having like events a bit too close together. And then between my births and postpartum support as well. But I mean, with preparing for the pageant, like I actually take my kids to the event most of the time.
Oh,
Yeah, if it's like an all age event or something, I always try and go to events where families are welcome,
yeah.
because motherhood is a big part of me, and I want other moms to also feel the same way, that it's an inclusive environment, and that's what I support. So I always try and bring the kids with me to my events. They've even come to my photo shoots as well. And they absolutely love being in the camera or just like making silly faces to try and get me to smile or do something funny. So, yeah, I always try and involve them as much as possible with that so that they can see what I'm doing, how I'm doing things, how I respond to certain people. Because I mean, yeah, I've had negative comments from so many, and then I've had like extremely amazing relationships and like new social connections as well, that they see that they're like, mommy is very social, like she likes talking to people and she likes showing us all of those different things to her, right? So um yeah, I try to involve them, and I feel like it helps a lot with my journey to Mrs. Petite Globe next year. So yeah, yeah, the only overwhelming part is where I don't have the support, and it's I have a couple, like 2 or 3 events within a week. So that's where
Wow.
it's like more draining. So now I'm actually looking at my schedule and prioritizing things as well to be like, okay, does this fit into my life, because my life is raising my 4 kids,
Yeah.
and I want the things that I enjoy doing to fit into it. So yeah, um, I'd say that's how I'm kind of juggling it in a way.
Honestly, good for you. I think that it's important. And I think that it doesn't last long when you don't have those priorities of yourself. And,
Yeah.
like burnout is so quick to happen in motherhood. And I think that it
Oh
takes
yeah.
years, and I mean years to recover from it. And that's what I don't think a lot of parents get. And, like it's so easy to just kind of like fill your schedule, but it's so hard to say, okay, no, I have to say no to this. And,
Yeah.
like it's also like having respect for the people in your lives to be like, okay, you have to accept that I have to say no, and it's not like against you or anything, but like this is just what I need right now. And I think that that's
Yeah.
a hard part for moms.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. And especially like with having kids, it's you want to give the best to them, and it's almost like you're always saying yes to them for all their needs. And then it gets very difficult for you to say no when it's outside of the house. So
Yeah.
it's really like working on your boundaries. And I mean, this is the stuff that I'm learning with going through my trauma journey, right? So, um, yeah, like boundaries, I think, is a really big thing. And even teaching the kids from young as well about boundaries is so important, because I feel like with all the issues going on in the world that we see today, I feel like starting like the teaching needs to be from like grassroots, from like the very beginning with the kids, so that they can learn to be like, hey, if I disagree with this person, we can still be friends. We can still show them kindness, because I feel like that's really what the world's lacking today.
Well,
So,
I think that that's what's scary. Like my son's only in Jake, and this one
mm,
child, he's been in school for 2 weeks. A kid's already thrown a pylon at him, threw rocks at him,
oh my
and
goodness.
like it really like he comes up to me and tells me this, and he says, "Mommy, you know why I think he threw rocks at me? Because he had no friends and he doesn't know how to make friends." And it just like broke my heart because I'm like, oh my God, like
Mm,
some other parents, they teach their kids, like if somebody hits you, hit them back. And like,
yeah.
there's just different things of like if I were to tell my brother like somebody hit my kid, he'd probably be like, tell your kid to hit them.
Yeah.
Because like you get to a point where like even in parenthood, you just like feel angry towards other parents or kids, like why would you do that? And I think that it
Hmm.
really starts from like young childhood and parenting skills,
Yeah.
that it's so important to like teach your kid things. And like in that moment I felt like, okay, maybe I am doing something right, because that was his reaction. It wasn't to like go hit the kid or you know
That's just a very mature response from a 5-year-old.
Well, he's
And
4, he just turned 4.
4. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. But no, like I just want to say, like, I'm sorry that he had to go through that. And especially for you too, hearing about it and knowing that like you can't be right there to like do something, right? But that just shows how amazing of a mom you are for
Thank you.
teaching him that. Like for him to say that, like that is That is such a mature response.
Honestly, yeah,
So
like
I hope
I
you're
truly
proud of that.
appreciate that. Yes, I honestly am proud of it. And like it's hard though, because like I too suffer with trauma. Like that's why I definitely love to hear like what your advice is and what you tell moms and stuff who suffer with PTSD, suffer with trauma. Like, how do you think that impacts you as a mom? Because for me personally, I feel like I am doing a disservice to my kid on the daily basis of like this is affecting my kids. And it's hard to
Yeah.
be like, how do I do this? Like you can be in therapy, be on medication, and still feel like, okay, this isn't enough. And
Yeah.
what would you kind of say to those moms that are kind of in the same position?
So I would say that there isn't a one size fits all for having PTSD and being a mom. That it's hard, and I mean, especially when you don't have the right supports. And my supports could be different from another mom's supports. I find that for me, being able to see my psychotherapist like once a week at least, and then having like my acupuncture, my massage therapy, chiro, even just like having like like I don't know, like a 20-minute bath like 3 times a week, like just to get that relaxation part. That's what works for me. But that may not work for somebody else. Like they might need a bit more. And I find that in-home support is what a lot of moms need, because so many of us are like, oh, like I'm gonna vet like 20 of these like babysitters, for example, for my kids. And even at the same time, we would always be constantly checking in with the babysitter, like not fully trusting them, because it's like they're my everything, and being able to get like in-home support, being able to get all those different things, I find really helps a lot. And knowing, um, and I feel like even with motherhood, it's like it's hard to trust too.
Right on.
So yeah, and it's like from the PTSD, for mine it was sexual assault in the military. So there's like a lot to that where I feel like I'm sometimes I definitely feel like I'm failing as a mom with certain things, because I'm like, oh no, like I totally talked to my kid as an adult. And then now they know like a bit more, and then it just, I don't know, like it just makes things a bit more challenging. But it's gonna be hard and challenging and frustrating, and you're probably gonna see a lot of anger too, because I feel like with moms, or even just like women in general, it's we've always been told to like be quiet, sit still, like you can't be angry. But I feel like mom rage is like a real thing, and that's something that will pop up having PTSD and being a mom. But
Yeah.
finding different ways on how to let that anger go, I find is really important. So like I started dirt biking with my kids.
It's
I feel like
amazing.
it helps a lot. And I got my motorcycle license last year after
Good for
putting it off for
you.
like 16 years. And I find like a bit of that adrenaline rush really helps me a lot. I'm not able to work out fully yet, like how I used to with weightlifting, just because like I'm having issues with like my neck right now. Um, but I find like that finding those little things, whether it's learning something completely new to be able to get that mom rage and anger out so that you can be like a healthy parent for your kid.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I just want to say, like, I'm so sorry that you went through that, but I'm so glad to see that you're sharing your story. And I'm sure that so many people reach out to you and say, like, because you shared my story, it like gave me that first step to like get help or to see that this is not going to like ruin or end my life. Because I
Yeah,
do know that it's such a common theme that, women go through these horrendous things and it's like, oh, well, it wasn't that bad, or, you're fine, like you're going to get through it, or, like you just hear these horrible responses that people have been
hmm,
told, and it's like, what is wrong with the world?
I
Like,
know.
genuinely, you start to question like the fundamental
Yeah,
differences that some people have, and like, again, we can sit here and disagree on things, but there's some things that like, it's like affirm this is pretty messed up?
yeah, exactly. No,
But
you're
it's
right.
it's amazing to kind of see how you've taken something so horrible and didn't let that become a part of you. in the aspect of like, this is going to silence me, this is going to make me smaller. You've like stood your ground and been like, this is my story, and I'm gonna like yell it from the rooftop. So I truly appreciate you sharing these vulnerable pieces to yourself because it's important. And like, even the one day when you kind of like sent me that one message of like, send this to a mom, like those messages, like in that moment, I'll be completely honest, where like I got into an argument with my own mom because I was like, sometimes I think I need to put my kids up for adoption because I can't give them the life they need. And my mom was like, what the hell's wrong with you? And she said that, and I got so mad at her. I was like, why would you say that response? But she's thinking, like, why are you saying this? And then when you
Yeah,
sent that to me, it like just kind of like grounded me in like, okay, other moms are suffering and we don't need to be silent about it. We can, kind of lean on each other. We can figure
yeah,
this out together. And like, maybe it's not going to be your neighbor who's going to be your village of support or your sister or your brother who lives near you. And those little small things that like do build up your village. So it's
yeah.
amazing.
No, it is like it, and it just reminds me, like, yeah, the other day, it was during the summer where my youngest twin and my youngest boy were just they their personalities are so similar, but they argue so much and they both get angry sometimes too. So, I was at the point where I like started crying because I'm like, I don't know what to do with you two. So I actually texted a friend of mine and she has 5 kids and I told her I'm like I just need like something like just someone to say something. I'm like because I don't know what to do with these two and I'm like they're constantly fighting. And then so she responded to me and she's like, it's okay. Like, she's like, this, like, siblings do this all the time. And she's just like, maybe just like, she's like, you're gonna know what to do. She's like, maybe just try to just like separate them for a little bit and have like one-on-one time with them. And it was just like, I just needed that reminder because it was just like such a frustrating, stressful thing to be going through and not knowing what to do. And so just being able to just like text a friend to be like, I don't know what to do right now. And for her to be like, no, like it's okay. Like just take a deep breath. Like don't worry about it. And this happens. And yeah, like try this instead. And I'm like, okay, okay, cool. Thank you. Like it gave me like that moment to pause. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I feel like even just having that as part of your village, being able to just text a mom, being like, just help me breathe, you know?
Yeah, and like I think too, when you first become a mom, there's like this, I don't know if all moms go through it, but I really felt it of like, I don't want advice from nobody. I'm doing it my way. I don't
Yeah,
want to talk to nobody. But then you hit the space of like, okay, maybe I do need some advice. But then I'm
yeah,
like, I kind of had like this like ego, maybe you want to say, of like, I'm not asking anyone for help because then they're gonna throw it in my face. But like
yeah.
now I've hit a point where like I have a good, bunch of friends, I would say, that I can kind of like chit chat back and forth. But like it is hard because not a lot of my friends have kids. So
Okay.
I was kind of the first one in my circle to have, well, I was the first one in my circle to have kids. And I never like where I was from, like I would say the mom circles are not really that great. Like here
No.
in the Ottawa area, like I can go to play groups and stuff and people are like talking, they're connecting. And where I was from, like it was not like that. If I went to like an early on, like everyone keeps their head down, no one looks at each other. It's like super strange. Whereas here I find
Oh,
it's really different. And so that's really helped out a lot too.
yeah. Yeah, no, I honestly feel the same way. Like I feel like with our first, because he was a cardiac baby, and it was almost like I didn't want to take advice from anybody because I was just like, you don't understand what this is like. And pretty much, yeah, like I think I maybe made friends with like 2 moms who were also cardiac moms as well in a way. And yeah, it was only just them that I actually started talking to, but then their kids were a bit older, and then I found that um like we had tried like an early on place as well, and we didn't. It was just very nobody talked to you type of thing, and then even I think like we even tried like these like mom and baby swim classes, and everybody yeah just kept to themselves and everything. And then yeah, I found that in Ottawa there's way more like people want to talk to you, people want to get to know what your journey is like as a parent, and I find that that's really important. I don't know if it's because Ottawa's just like I feel like it's just been like growing so much, like where we're in like the greater Ottawa area now. But yeah, I find that it's definitely more friendlier, like mom friendlier here.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've noticed that I've really met very few people who are born and raised in Ottawa. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like an aspect of like, okay, you're going to be more open because everyone that I knew where I was from is born and raised there. Nobody left. Nobody
Okay.
came. They're just from there. They have everyone they've known since a child. And here, I think I've actually met maybe like 3 or 4 people who are born and raised in Ottawa and never left. So I think that
Okay.
might play a part into it too, because I was
Yeah.
actually thinking about this, because like, why are people so open here but not back home?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think you're right about that, to be honest. Like, even clients of mine too, and then even just friends, like parents of my kids' friends too. A lot of them are not from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty good though.
Yeah, I like it better because other people are understanding the position that you're in. Like I have a
Yeah.
friend here that we like spent Easter together because I wasn't going to go home for Easter. My family wasn't able to come up. Her family didn't come up. She didn't go home for Easter. So it's just like nice to share moments that you would have otherwise been alone with another person, because like if I was back home where I was and was like alone for a holiday for whatever reason, I wouldn't have had people to celebrate with because they'd always be with their family too, right?
Okay, yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like, like being a homeschooling mom, like I know you say like a village, but what other things are you kind of utilizing for resources and stuff like that to kind of like get through everything that you're going through?
Um, I would say so I have a French tutor for the kids that she goes on the computer with them, like I'd say I think it's twice a week now that we're doing it. So that also takes the French aspect off of me, like where I mean I did French immersion up until I was like in grade 8, but I find that having somebody else be able to do that, and especially she's like I feel like she's like the expert in it, because she actually helped me get my profile. So yeah, so with her it helps a lot so that it actually gives me a bit of time to either, let's say I'm going to go have like my second cup of coffee, or I'm going to go read a book for a little bit, or I'm just going to focus on, I don't know, like some of my business stuff. So that's like one really big thing that I've had that really helps a lot. I have a cleaner that comes in weekly, and it's been absolutely amazing. So this was just something well, to be able to afford it, I had a claim in with that, which took about 3 years to get approved for. So this in particular, like I've been waiting on this for such a long time, for 3 years. So
Yeah.
I find that that helps a lot. It takes like that mental stress off. Even our babysitter, she'll help out with laundry for the kids. And yeah, being able to get to my appointments. Also, yeah, getting the kids into extracurriculars sometimes too. I've found it just gives me some time with the other kids. So it's
Well,
like
I
two at
think
a time.
yes, like kind of divide and conquer, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, I honestly think it's so important that like people see background to it or understand how many different people are helping in because a lot of times moms have zero help whatsoever and they really start to question, why do I have this many hours, the same amount of hours that you have, but I can't do anything at all? Because I think that a
exactly.
lot of people feel that way. And
Yeah,
like burnout is real. So I'm sure before you had all of this help, you've probably hit burnout and you're probably still
yeah,
recovering from that. I could imagine because, like, especially even just like, I do know a few people who have applied for back and it does take so long. It's also so intensive.
yeah,
And, like you're reliving everything that you went through without like that follow up of help to get you through it.
yeah,
Like you have to tell your story, but it's not like to somebody who's going to help you. They just want to know what happened, right? So
yeah.
it's probably really, really, really triggering, and I couldn't even imagine having to go through that.
Yeah, no, but this is where I feel like it's not great for like all moms, because it's like if you don't have the financial help for it, you won't be able to get that help, period.
Yeah.
So that's why so many of us end up in burnout, and we continue trying to get out of burnout, but which can last like years. And yeah, like not being able to have the financial support, I find is like a really big factor as to why so many can't get that help. So
Well, yeah, and I think too is like when like that financial aspect is so important, but like also having the village or having like the people to help you get to that point. And
yeah,
I do know like there are like 3 or 4 moms that I know that they all kind of take turns. Like once a week they go to somebody's house and they do meal prep every week and they fold each other's laundry. And I don't know why, like I could fold other people's stuff or like do something for somebody else, but when it comes to my own, it's like more overwhelming, right? Like even
it
like watching your
is.
own kids is so much harder when it's just like them. If there's other people there, it's easier or like,
Yeah,
like it's a thing.
it's so true. Yeah, because like I find it like even as a doula as well, I have no issues like doing laundry, like cooking, cleaning, things like that. But then for myself, I'm just like, oh no. Like it's like this whole cloud comes over and it's just like, oh, like I can't see through this. Like this is just gonna be so challenging.
Yeah, it's
Um,
hard.
yeah, no, it is. So yeah, I absolutely love that those three moms are doing that because I think that that would be amazing out here. I feel like I don't know, I just feel like there should be like a community that does that.
We should definitely try to figure
I
that out. Cause
know,
like
we
even,
should.
yeah, like I'm so curious about like barriers and obstacles to what moms are truly facing because I think that there's so much talk about it, but there's not a lot of research into
Yeah,
like motherhood and gaps and like there's, I mean, some stuff, but like nobody really covers all of it. So I'm so curious to like what moms are truly struggling with. And it's hard too, because a lot of times like you don't want to admit it, you don't know what's going on, you just know you're
yeah,
struggling, right?
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Or you get to the point where you're like, I need help, but I don't know where I need help for.
Yes, or like how to even accept the help. Because I do know a
Yeah,
lot of people know that they need help with stuff, but it's like, how am I going to get to the place where I'm like, okay, I'm going to accept this help and it's going to be okay.
yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah,
But
because like
yeah,
even
so
even with my own mom, like it's like I'm sure she would take my kids overnight, but then it's like, okay, but I don't want to like leave my kids overnight, even though I probably
yeah.
should. It's like, it's like a battle, right?
Oh yeah, no, I totally get that.
So, like, I'll kind of ask you like the last thing that I'm kind of curious to, but like, what is something that you would, say to somebody or even yourself, let's say, in that the lowest point of your time? Like, when you were really, really in that deep end, or, to somebody who's in their deep end, what are you kind of saying to them to be like, it's going to get better?
I feel like saying it's going to get better is very, very common to say, but it's really hard for the person on the other side hearing it to feel, right? So, what I would do, and I think now what I'm starting to do is when I'm starting to know the signs and my triggers and everything when I'm about to get to that point. And this is where I've actually paused for like about a minute or so just to like have some silence. And I'm actually like closing my eyes and like manifesting of like the really good moment of like when it was I don't know, like kissing my kid's knee because they like fell off their bike and just knowing that I was actually the one that was able to calm them down. Or seeing like the face of like my kid who was like, I can ride my bike without training wheels, for example. And just like that moment of joy. So so what I've started to do now is like I've actually like paused for about a minute and closing my eyes and just like thinking of one of those like joyful moments, which I find has helped me get back out of that. And then I'm actually able to be like, okay, now I can focus on what I'm supposed to be doing, be able to prioritize, be able to get out of that part of my head, and be able to continue doing everything without it wrecking my day, for example. So I don't know. I would say, like, for some moms, maybe to try that to see if that helps.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the thing is like a lot of times things will happen, especially in motherhood. Like my kids are not listening or something happened. I'm like, this ruined my day.
Yeah.
It's so hard to not let it just ruin everything. And like if your kid were to be like, oh, I fell, this ruined my day, you would be like, what? Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
understand it, right? But then like as a
No.
mom, you're like, oh, like my kids ruined the laundry or whatever, like this ruined my day. And like it's such a big deal. So I
Yeah.
I think that that's a really good piece of advice like I definitely think I'm going to take. So I hope our listeners are kind of looking at their lives and re-looking at motherhood a little bit more in like a positive light.
Yeah. I know. Because
Yes.
it can be hard, especially it's hard to see the light through those hard moments.
Yes, yes. And especially too, like, I don't know if you can say the same thing, but you think it's going to get better. You're starting to see the light, then it gets dark again, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, there's no light at all. And then you see it again, and you're like, I'm almost there, and then it gets dark.
Yeah, it's because you have like this like vision of like a tunnel that's straight, but it's almost like, I don't know, like a windy, turny tunnel, like you're in like a Super Mario Brothers
Yes.
type,
That
right? Where
that
it's
is the
going all over
perfect
the
way
place.
to explain it. That's honestly like the spot on way to explain what motherhood is like. Well, I
Mhm.
definitely appreciate you coming on. Is there one last thing that you'd kind of like to leave our listeners with?
Never give up on being a mom.
I love that.
I would say like don't ever give up because as soon as you do, that's when I think it gets even tougher to get out of. So always live in those happy, joyful moments to take you through those tough moments.
I love that. I'm gonna go tell my kid that because that's actually amazing. And I think too that a lot of times people think that like once your kid gets to a specific age, it's not as, your child's not as needy, but they become needy in different ways. So I think that
Exactly.
that's amazing. Yeah. Never give up on being a mom. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Yes, well, hopefully, I'm sure that my listeners will definitely see you probably in the future with different little avenues of stuff.
For sure. Yeah. I would
Yeah,
love that.
so thank you, everybody, and stay tuned for our next episode next week at 8 p.m. on Sunday.